you can kind of see the end of this. Yeah. But
Yeah.
if it's like just a part of aging,
Yeah.
it can really wear a person down. So
Yeah.
I want to ask you, how do you cope? I mean, apart from the, like you say, the grieving, but that's more grieving their eventual departure. But
Yeah.
how do you cope with the day-to-day shenanigans? Right?
Yeah.
It's like, how do you not lose your cool
Yeah.
and get frustrated? How do you do that?
Welcome to another episode of Empower at Midlife, and today we have Susanah with us again, and she is my guest host. Alina is not able to join us at the moment, but we'll flow with this and see when she will come back. And in the meantime, we have Susanah, and I'm happy to have her here. Really, always nice to have these conversations with Susanah.
Yes, it's really a conversation more than anything else, right?
Yeah.
And if anything resonates with anybody, then wow, that'll be a bonus, I guess.
Yeah, certainly. I think maybe it's because people at our age, or people in their 40s or 50s, now are at a point in their lives, or at least in our part of the world. I'm not sure whether this is a practice that is international, like across the board, whether everyone does it. I think it's highly dependent on culture as well, right? It is a time when we are taking care of our parents, our very elderly parents. I had lunch with a friend of mine from KL two weeks ago, and he's in his 40s, and he was telling me about, wow, he's now at a point in his life where he is almost, it feels like almost taking care of his mom full time.
Wow.
Yeah, because mom is ill and all of that.
Okay.
So
Does he work? He obviously still works. So
he works for himself.
Okay.
So that helps. And so he recently got a helper as well. So that also helps. And that's why he's able to take a short break, came over to Singapore.
Okay.
But yeah, increasingly I hear all these stories of people in our age group very preoccupied, with juggling. Like, here you are thinking, oh, my kids are all grown up, I'm free, and then
but your folks become your new kids. It's like that is their second childhood in a way, to be taken care of by you. And it becomes, like I was saying, your midlife crisis in a way. It's not existential anymore. It's about caregiving.
Yes. And I feel also is a time where things get not just difficult but demanding, and then relationships do get strained. I think in some families, relationships get strained because the responsibility goes on to one person, and then the other is saying, oh, aren't you also paying for it? Or aren't you also chipping in?
Or even with time. Usually someone ends up being the one spending the time. I mean, money, I guess, is more easily shared. The cost is more easily shared, but time is like, oh, it falls to you because you don't have to work, or you work part-time, or you don't have kids, that kind of thing. Which is quite unfair.
Or you're not married.
Yes. Or you're single. Like, you have no life, basically.
That's the most common. It's just quite sad, that in a way, maybe culturally or society has set it up in such a way. And I think some people feel like they feel a sense of obligation. They don't get a way out of this. And it's not within our culture to just not take care of our elderly parents. It's so deeply ingrained, right, into our culture that it's almost automatic that we would do it.
But But honestly, I think unless we are totally alienated from our parents, it's like, how can you not, you know?
Yeah.
It's almost inhuman.
Yeah.
Even animals do that, you know, like a pride of lions, the aging ones get looked after. Yeah, they don't go out to hunt anymore or whatever. Like the wolves. I was just watching a video on TikTok, and they have a certain way of walking wolves, a pack of wolves. So they will actually put the quite young but raring to go ones right at the front. Okay, then the oldest ones will be the next. Because it's like you've come to the end of your life, so it's quite sad lah. Like you can be sacrificed. Yeah. Then the babies will be next, and then the I guess the midlife, like strong ones, and the last one is actually the alpha. Alpha walks last. And I thought that was so interesting. You know, they even think of a hierarchy of you know, their community, how we should survive in the wild. So amazing.
I think most pack animals behave that way, right? They do have a certain elephants, for example. I think they do. They also look after the elderly.
And I think that's so remarkable. It's almost like it's natural to do that.
It is natural
and it's unnatural not to care for the elderly, or the young, for that matter.
I remember when I was still quite young, maybe like in my teens or in my early 20s, and when people talk about taking care of our elderly parents, and you know, when they get old, you know, like we should be looking after them. I mean, that it's like we hear of this kind of conversations a lot, right, in Asia. And it really frightened me at that point. And I thought to myself, I'm not gonna, you know, how am I gonna take care of them? I don't think I'm able to do it. You know, like I don't want to. You know, it feels so. Feels like a difficult thing to do. You know, and I go like, ugh, you know, there's a huge resistance in my own body, right? Feeling it. But I guess we kind of grow into it, like with life experience, with you know, you start to, as a teenager, obviously you're a lot more self-centered and selfish, right? You only look at your world. And as you get and as you get older, you see the world quite differently. And I think
you can see a little kid.
Yeah.
Who is this? Freddie or Mercury?
This is Mercury.
Mercury is the one that gets dragged around, is it?
Yes.
Somehow I could tell that was because it's a bit laid back, right? A bit noir.
She's a sweetheart. She's a real sweetheart.
Yes. What is it? Yes. With a vase. Oh my God.
And she's the kind of you know, kitten that when you give her attention, she'll look at you with so much love, like, oh, I'm so in love with you, you know, that kind of look.
Very grateful cat. Oh, she's really sweet.
She's
and
sweet.
Quite small.
She's small. She's smaller than Freddie for sure, and that's why she gets bullied.
Adorable. Sorry, I'm very distracted by her. She's so cute. We have decades, like, you know, to grow into
we grow into
the mindset of
that
it could be a reality that we would have to do all these things. And it's very painful because it's not only a difficult thing. Objectively, it's a difficult thing. I mean, even as a job, it's a difficult job to be a caregiver. But when it's your own parents, you are also emotionally affected because everything that happens to them affects you. You feel sad for them. You get angry for them because you know they're no longer like what they used to be when you were young. And they cannot do a lot of the things that they enjoy, and then you get very sad yourself. It's kind of double whammy.
It is quite sad. And I you know, like when they get so old to the point where their personality has changed, everything is so different about them, right?
Mm.
I feel like that's almost like nature's way of preparing us, right? For separation.
Change, yeah.
Yeah. Because they're not,
Yeah.
you know, they're not the same
Yeah.
people, you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
And so I think it's because of the work that I do. I've already started my grieving process a long time ago.
Right.
When I think maybe 3 years ago, I started the whole grieving process. Like I did my own ritual. I processed the emotions, the grief, you know, like because they're just not the same people, right?
Yeah.
And then so I know that, you know, once they pass, is like they pass.
It's a passage. Yeah. It's literally
and
a process. Yeah.
I'm not gonna feel sad or like, oh, what if, you know, I should have done this, you know, like none of that. I have none of that.
No regrets.
No regrets.
Yeah.
I've spent a lot of time. I made very conscious effort to, I think for how many years now? Maybe 4 years. Like every week, I would take them somewhere. At that time, you know, both parents were still mobile. They could walk. I would take them somewhere once a week. And then, you know, seeing my mom losing it mentally, I also encourage my sister, you know, you should see her more often because at one point she may not be able to recognize you, right?
Yeah.
And so, you know, so that also is my own grieving process in a way, you know, like to spend as much time as possible. And now it's like, you know, whatever we can, you know, like whenever we can spend time. But I do see them at least once a week, and then rest of the time is CCTV. I watch over them, or as and when I need to help them run errands, then I would do that. So the difficulty in caring for my parents is, I mean, my father is 90, my mom is 80, 85, 86, and they don't want to help her.
Okay. That's quite common too.
Yeah.
This stubbornness and refusal. Yeah.
I think old people are very, very stubborn, and they really take pride in, you know, in that independence. And I'm sure when we get there, right, we'll also be the same.
I don't know about me. I'm quite open to help.
And, you know, just refuse. And so there's nothing you can do but just hope for the best. And that's all you can do. Yeah.
But the good thing about your parents is they're physically all right, right? I mean, they can still do their own, get their own meals and
so because my mom is in dementia daycare the whole day, she's only back. She goes in the morning, she comes back in the evening. It's like going to school, you know. And so my father only has himself to take care of most of the time, and he has his mobility rider. Easy enough. And he also has, you know, there's food stocked up in the fridge. He wants to cook a simple meal,
he can do it.
He can do it. Or he just takes the mobility, goes down, the lift, go down. And then there are shops downstairs, you know. They can easily just get food. So that's not an issue.
Does your father have his own friends, his own circle of friends that he hangs out with?
Well, because he's 90, so most people have passed on, unfortunately. But he, you know, he has made friends with, you know, like neighborhood people, shopkeepers or whatever. He'll hang out, have conversations with them, that sort of a thing. My mom is very happy in the daycare. Very, very happy. They have activities. And I think the daycare has really helped her to maintain. She hasn't gotten worse.
That's
and
good.
she doesn't sundown.
What's
dementia, for dementia, and patients and people with Alzheimer's, is it called Alzheimer's? Yeah. When the sun goes down, their personality shifts. They can become violent. They can become
depressed,
quite horrible people. So she had that for a period. She was really nasty.
How
And it's
strange, because of the sun, literally, right? Like it's like SAD,
so the sun has
seasonal affective disorder.
So I think it affects their brain on some level. Yeah.
Wow.
And now it's your cat.
This is a crooked tail. This is Alien. Yeah.
Alien.
The tortoise shell.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. She is 9 years old. Yeah.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Sorry. Our children.
Yeah, our children. Yeah, so she doesn't sun down anymore. And I think the consistency in the daycare really helps her. So the brain is kept active. They have activities to do, and
stimulated, right? Well stimulated, socialized. Yeah.
So she's very happy.
Yeah. It's remarkable how things have changed so much in the last, I don't know, 20 years for people, elderly people. There's so much more help in this way, like facilities, people, experts, professionals who can really offer, the support for, for instance, people like your mom. Yeah.
She went into the daycare via the hospital route because she fell and then hospitalized for a long time, like 6 months.
Oh, wow.
And then,
did she break a hip or?
Yeah, she broke her hip. And they could not do surgery on her because of the dementia.
Yeah.
And so, then of course, the social workers were concerned, like when she goes back, what's going to happen? What's the living conditions like? And so they gave her, like the route to go into the daycare. And they get subsidized rate because of that. And it's actually quite difficult to get into daycare.
Right. I see.
Just if you opt to go in, it's difficult to go in, and then it's not subsidized. Yeah.
Okay.
And also depending on where you live, right? And public housing, the smaller the flat, the more subsidy you get.
Okay.
Kind of thing.
Okay.
So
and who has to take her there? Is there a transport that comes to pick her up? Okay. Wow.
So we arrange for that. That's the ambulance service that's attached to the daycare to do door-to-door service.
Wonderful.
Yeah. So then
it's such a relief, isn't it?
In a way, it is, because I was thinking, do I have to travel there every day to make sure she gets to the daycare and then come back again in the evening?
It's not sustainable, to be honest. You'll be wiped out.
Yes. And so I'm really glad that there is a service. So it's helping a lot.
And is it a 5-day a week thing?
5 days. Okay. And then of course, public holidays,
they don't open.
So it's like literally like a school.
Like school. Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
And but are you literally the only one who is involved in the care of your parents?
Yeah, I'm heavily involved. My older sister is sometimes involved.
Okay.
And so that's it. So run errands, things like that. Order food sometimes, like sometimes I get a phone call from my father that he says, I don't know what to eat. I don't know what to get for lunch. Like especially the weekend.
Yeah.
And then I'll say, okay, I'll order something, right? I'll order. So then the food gets delivered to them. So they're quite happy. Like, okay, something different from the usual Grab food,
Yeah.
So just,
Your parents are very blessed, because it's one thing to the routine is I have to do this, but it's this constant that people depend on you. It's the stress of being the one dependent on. I don't know. I would be very stressed on a long-term basis. Like if it's a short-term thing, like okay, someone's just recovering from surgery, you can kind of see the end of this. But if it's like just a part of aging, it can really wear a person down. So I want to ask you, how do you cope? I mean, apart from the, like you say, the grieving, but that's more grieving their eventual departure. But how do you cope with the day-to-day shenanigans? Right? It's like, how do you not lose your cool and get frustrated? How do you do that?
Well, I do get frustrated because, sometimes communicating with them, telling them what they can do and what they cannot do, because, like my father is not very realistic as well. Like he doesn't, I don't know whether it's the lack of self-reflection or inability to see, like there's only so much you can do, with the state of where you are right now. But they can be unrealistic. Like my mom, she's an excuse, right? She has dementia. So it can be very frustrating trying to communicate that. So I've learned to just let it be. Like he can say, "Oh, I want to do this." Okay, but whether eventually he gets to do it, and I don't know, right? I just let it be. If I can help, I help. If not, then I just let it be. And I think maybe also because of the work that I do, there are, maybe I've gotten used to the idea that people do rely, inverted commas, right? Rely on me or depend on me. Like, with my clients, like when they need clarity, they're confused, or they need, whatever, right? So they come for coaching. And I think maybe with that training, I've learned quite early on that, okay, I see my client in this space, but beyond that, I don't take that work back with me. So energetically, I know how to cut off, but at the same time, I also need to, I'm constantly adjusting my limits, right? As to, there are some weeks where I think, okay, I can do this much. After doing it, I realized, oh my God, it's too much, right? On top of like going to see my parents and all of that, and running around doing chores for them, and say, okay, that's too much. And then I have to learn to adjust and cut back. And so it's constantly making the adjustments as well. Yeah, because there's some months where doctor appointments is like 4 appointments in a month. It's ridiculous, And then I have to choose. Okay, no, there's no point seeing this doctor. There's no point doing this or doing that, because if I look at it from a practical point of view, sometimes is the hospital needing to do it for their own reason, but not necessarily serving my mom in any way. So I'm like, okay, I'm not going to do that. And then I just let it be, making choices and doing what I think is relevant and right, because there's certain things that you really don't need. And especially when they are at this age, right? Like, I mean, there are certain, even doctors, don't give out medication that much to people in their 80s and 90s, because it's firstly, the medication is not going to be effective. It's like just eating it's like placebo effect, right?
Yeah. Okay. So it's like, I guess you cannot be too rigid in your own process. So you have to be flexible, chop and change, because situations are so fluid also, right? With your parents. And I guess you need to, you're compartmentalizing as well. Like, okay, it's a thing I have to do, but you don't dwell on it. And
I don't dwell. And also, with the dog and the cats, I think caring for the dog and the cat keeps me grounded, because these are things almost ritualistic, because walking the dog is a must. Right, taking the dog out to the toilet is a must. So it helps me to get out there, breathe fresh air, that sort of a thing.
Right. Okay. I'm quite, in a way, unlucky, but lucky in a sense that, okay, my dad passed away at the age of 64. So he was very, very young. I mean, just slightly older than I am now. And he was, I mean, yeah, he had heart problems, he had high blood pressure, diabetes, but he was never unable to take care of himself up to that point. He had a massive stroke on the day that he actually brought his car for servicing. So he was fully mobile until he was just struck down for 8 days in a coma and he passed away. Yeah, so he never left the hospital. So there was no care needed. I mean, on our part, not even on my mom's part. My mom was even younger then. She was only 62. So I was quite lucky that my mom, from that age as a widow, right up to her, when she passed, was 82. So for 20 years, she lived as a widow. She also riddled with all kinds of illness, diabetic, heart, but fully mobile, and very open to help. So she was open to having a helper. So the helper was like more than adequate for her. Took care of the house, took care of her meals, went out with her, went to the doctor's visits with her. So honestly, my brother and I did not, we can't even claim to have had to caretake, her in any way. And she also had a massive stroke while watching TV at 82 one morning and went into a coma. Hers was a bit more long drawn. She was in hospital for 6 weeks. She never recovered and she passed away. Yeah, so we kind of like escaped it twice. Yeah. It's very strange. Yeah, I mean, sometimes when I hear my friends talk about, like you tell me about your parents, and I'm like, I really don't know what it's like. Yeah. But I'm sad in the sense that my dad left so early. I would have loved to have been able to care for him even. Yeah. And I remember when he was gasping already and my mom knew he was gonna go and all of us were gathered around his bed in ICU and she was wailing, she was crying her eyes out and she said, don't go, she kept telling him. I will take care of you. Don't go. I will do anything to take care of you. And that just like I felt even sadder by what she said than that my dad was dying. I mean, of course, I was sad that my dad was dying, but to hear that from my mom, and I'm like, wow, okay, I don't know if I can ever love anyone like that. Yeah, and it just showed me a lot of things about love, about relationships, about caring for people you love who are ill, who cannot take care of themselves. But I thought it was beautiful. It was morbidly beautiful, if you know what I mean. And that her refrain, sometimes I still think about it when she just wailed and said, don't go. And I was like, I was in my 20s. And I remember being like taken aback in the midst of all that drama, of my dad dying, leaving us. Yeah.
Wow.
It's strange, so I don't know what it's like to care for someone at the level that you have and many of my friends do. It's really small things I do, like I'll fetch my mom here, fetch my mom there. Like you say, run little errands, things that just make her life more convenient. And it's usually very inconsequential things like she'll tell me to buy her skincare for her. It's like, and like even her medicine, she had 18 different types of meds, but she was so lucid.
Wow.
Every month, every 6 weeks, she'll go and see her doctor and she'll get the bags of pills. And then she'll sit in the kitchen, I remember, with all her pill boxes for the week. And she's like, ding, 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 ding. And she's just putting them in herself, And I'm like, my gosh, if it was me, I think I would not even remember, that I have to take this with that, the other. Yeah. So it's quite, I mean, my mother was very independent, even right up to the very end. So,
Wow.
something, in a way, I dodged that bullet, if you could say that. Yeah.
But, all these things like sending your mom to places and doing things, this is part of caregiving.
I guess.
It is part of caregiving.
Yeah.
Like even towards the end, if she was in hospital for 6 weeks, you would have to go almost every day, right?
So that I did lah. And what I did a lot for her, which she also did a lot for me, I prayed for her. Yeah. So every time I visited her, she was like in this semi-conscious state, I would just pray the divine mercy. Every time I visit, I would just pray, because she was a devotee of the Divine Mercy Chaplet and the Rosary. So I would just pray next to her. Yeah. And I think that's all I ever did for my mom.
Yeah.
Ferry her around and pray for her. And I never cooked for her, okay, because I cannot cook. Yeah. I took her out to eat a lot. Which she kind of enjoyed, because then she could eat like rubbish, so to speak. Didn't have to eat her steamed fish and her spinach that the doctor says, you have to eat healthy, that kind of thing. So she'd be very happy to eat her pasta and stuff like that.
That's all part of caregiving.
I guess. Yeah.
Because if you were to ask me, let's say, one of my parents get into a state where they're bedridden, I would not be able to care for them at that level. I would not be able to.
You would need the professionals, right?
I would need the professionals. I would definitely send them to a nursing home or something, because that takes a toll, and that's a full-time job in itself. If I do that, then what about the work that I do? Right? I won't be able to work.
You can't work.
And that's not realistic.
Yes.
Ultimately. So that level of care, I don't think I'm able to give, and I don't think people should expect themselves to give that kind of level of care, because you don't have the professional training. It's a totally different care.
It's medical already. In a way,
totally
right?
Different. It's totally different. And I think the stress is, if it's your own parents, the stress is very high to do that kind of caring. And because emotionally it's so draining, where everything's reversed, right? Your parent has become a literal child, laying in
like
bed.
a baby.
And you have to change the diaper and all that. That's wow.
You would not be able to work a normal job.
No. That is tough. I can imagine there are people who care for their parents that way, either because they can't afford to send them to a nursing home, or that sort of a thing, right? So then they do have to take over the full responsibility of caring. And you also hear stories, right? People who send their parents to a nursing home and then they can't afford to pay anymore, then they just disappear. Because it is expensive.
Yeah. So what happens to
the state has to take over? Because I guess they know the state is going to take over. And they can't. And plus, I think sometimes in these kind of situations, the parents don't even recognize them anymore. And having taken care of my parents, right, and my mom in hospital and the stress and all of that, I used to judge people who abandon their parents in nursing homes, but I can totally get why. Not that I would do it, but I can get why. Because it really takes a toll on you, and it's not easy. And they just